follows an extract from my book Letters from the Broom Cupboard, available from Amazon. Dear reader, I know that I've already confided in you that I get nervous before I start teaching each day, so it's no surprise that the 20 minutes before there is that first knock at the door can see me nipping to the loo about 3 times. I guess it's just a very diluted version of stage fright. Please excuse the inadvertent reference to water again there. Perhaps it's a good sign, really. Maybe the day that I don't get a touch of the jitters is the day that I know to pack in. Never rest on your laurels, there's always something new to learn. It's no wonder that people who work in the arts can often end up a bit strange. What can you expect from a group of people who have to live on their nerves for their daily bread? I guess that it's part of the job, and it's something that you learn to deal with. Performance nerves are particularly tricky to deal with, but there are coping mechanisms that you can learn to adopt to help to alleviate this a degree. The jitters will never fully leave you, but if you accept them as a matter of course, it does take a little of the fraughtness out of the situation. I have a mental lecture prepared that I've developed over the years, and when the nerves start to kick in, the lecture is triggered and I take myself through each bullet point. Nerves are good. A dose of adrenaline adds an edge of creativity to your performance. No nerves makes for a dull rendition. There's no real foundation for such nervousness. At this point, I check off the preparation that has taken place. If I've spent sufficient time in practice, I can reassure myself that my fingers already know what they're doing. Muscle memory can take over and my brain needn't get too involved. Here, however, is a caveat. If I've not practiced and I know that the reason I'm on edge is because I'm not sufficiently prepared, then I deserve to be nervous. It's a just punishment. If this is the case, which it might well be, then my little homily divides into a subclause. You've not practiced and you deserve to be nervous, but there's nothing new in this. Ain't that the truth? You've been here before and you've pulled it off by the seat of your pants. Let this be a lesson to you. I now begin promising myself that I'll turn over a new leaf and vow to always practice diligently henceforth. Once I've got through the current performance crisis, again, I'll lapse into inactivity for a while until the next crisis. I know of only 2 people who genuinely never get nervous, and they practice simply all of the time. Because they live and breathe music every waking minute, and other performance is all in a day's work to them. Both of these examples are male, and I suspect that the X chromosome predominantly carries the nervousness gene. As such, this explains why we women often get so nervous. We have a double helping to cope with. I'm sure that a large part of my nervousness arises from the fact that I'm constantly lurching between 2 worlds, the domestic and the musical. Those friends of mine that don't have families spend their time in uninterrupted practice and musical application, whereas I'm constantly jumping ship between music and domestics, and this takes a good deal of mental adjustment. 2 minutes before a pupil knocks at the door, I'm just dashing to the washing machine to swap loads. If I have a gap between pupils, I've an eye on the clock, wondering if I should put the oven on to preheat so that I have supper ready for us all by 8:30. If I'm not teaching and have a morning at home, I'll plan to do some music practice before my pupils arrive. I'll start a quick tidy so that the house is ready to receive visitors. Then I'll walk the dog, who is getting older and much, much slower. And then it's time to prepare some lunch for us all, which can be for between 2 and 7 people on an irregular and ever-changing basis. I'll then get sidetracked with some laundry, and before I know it, I've missed my chance and my pupils are due. No wonder it takes me a moment to figure out which end of the flute to blow down. David always tells me to practice first thing in the morning, and we can pull the domestics together between us as and when we can each day. I can't adjust to this, as I hate working amongst clutter, and my attitude isn't bohemian enough to have my pupils and parents surrounded by my family's paraphernalia, though I gather it's arty to do so. I've managed on my wits for the last 20 years, so I suppose I can manage a little bit longer. When new pupils begin to take lessons, they are a veritable bag of nerves. It's no wonder that they are nervous when you consider that, in essence, those first lessons are a performance test, or so it could feel to the pupil, that they have absolutely no means of preparing for, thus creating a maximum potential for the jitters. My heart does go out to them, and I work really hard to put them at their ease. I reassure new students that music lessons are supposed to sound nasty, and if they didn't make any mistakes, they wouldn't need to take lessons and we'd have to swap seats. I used to cry before my piano lessons, even as an adult. I also know that this was because I knew full well that I hadn't practiced what I should have, and no doubt some exam was looming and I'd left everything to the last minute. At this juncture, I really must explain that all of my teachers were really nice and would be mortified to learn that I'd got myself into such a tizzy. They'd also laugh at me heartily now and tell me that I was an idiot and it was my own fault. Ah, such wisdom. No doubt there is much potential for research into the nervousness qualities of the X chromosome. Maybe I should apply for a grant, although on reflection, I'm not sure that this is robust enough to stand up to empirical testing. The most anxious students are always beginner adult males, and the older they are, the more nervous they appear to be. It must be quite an ordeal for a grown man to sit himself next to a complete stranger and feel like an imbecile until they find their fingers. The situation is the same for all beginners, but adult males do seem to feel it more acutely. Their knees are continually bouncing, if not literally knocking, as their nervous tension finds physical expression. Their speech is halting, if not entirely non-existent, and their hands shake violently as they try and play. Outside of the music room, they probably manage to maintain a facade of cool confidence in new situations, but at the piano all such masks are torn asunder. It usually takes a couple of months for them to get to know me and feel fully at ease. There's definitely a research grant in this somewhere, with any findings to be used to develop new methods of the cruelest psychological torture. Gratefully yours. For the full collection of letters from the Broom Cupboard, available from Amazon in paperback or as an ebook, follow the links in the cards in the description box or find details on my website at sharonbill.com. Thanks for listening.